Hello there everyone and welcome back. I know I already did a video yesterday, but since my fleet's kind of already leveled up and I don't need to really try and figure out the nuances of an Imperial Navy fleet, I'm going to dive right into it for a second day in a row. And ideally, my new schedule, at least what I'm really hoping for, if I can keep a good pace, is maybe do a stream either on Wednesday or Thursday, then do another YouTube multiplayer series of the Imperial Navies on Friday, before, if all goes well and if I feel comfortable enough on each of the factions, do a guide type video over the weekend. And it remains to be seen how much effort that's, or how much time rather, is going to take to actually do that. But that's what I'm hoping my schedule is going to be for next upcoming weeks, so at least stay tuned for that. Ideally, we're going to have 3 YouTube videos for just straight multiplayer matches, a stream to add on top of that, and everything's going to go up from there. Here's hoping, at least. But nonetheless, there's not really much to talk about on the fleet composition, but I think what I'm going to experiment with for my Friday video is probably play around with Novicans, or at least play around with a Dominator fleet. It remains to be seen if I'm going to include Marses in that, but I don't think the Apocalypse is really meant for a Novican type of fleet. I think it's more for a longer range centric type of fleet with its emphasis on lances, but I would love to play with it some more. But nonetheless, let's continue on with my current fleet with the Exorcist and the Retribution, all the usual type of cruisers that we know and love. Alright, Chaos. The classic match between good and evil. The only thing is, depending on your perspective, who's the good guys and who's the bad guys. You would think Chaos with a name called Chaos for their faction, for crying out loud, but Chaos would believe otherwise. I think it's safe to assume. But nonetheless, this is kind of like the most standard type of matchup we can expect. They're going to want to keep it range from me, unless they're going slaughters or something really aggressive, and I'm going to be trying my best to get in close to maximize my damage potential while denying them to soften me up to the point where I still lose even when I get in close. That's kind of how this is probably going to play out. It remains to be seen, but otherwise, 3 points here. I love to center myself around that area if at all possible. Where do I realistically expect confrontation? Really, that little center point, so I think I want to switch my frigates around with that said. Have my heavy, kind of like capture squad, at least, with my Retribution. I'm not going to have a lot of scanner pulses, mind you. I'm just gonna have the one. So I gotta make it count and be mindful of maybe mixing up if I'm facing off against something that's a little more stealth oriented. I know I've seen at least one fleet that relied almost exclusively on light cruisers. Don't know how practical it is, but the mobility is good, without a doubt going to be a pain. And let's see, is that the right fleet? Oh, I accidentally made the Exorcist Group 2. I was wondering why it seemed like I didn't have my Silent Run active. So let's see. Group 1, Group 2, 3, 4. There, we're all set. So 6 ships. I don't know what this means just yet. This could mean pretty much anything. We'll know once points start getting captured. Actually, I was wondering... Okay, here boost, so Emission Dissipator is in effect here. So these are likely cruisers of some kind. Yeah, they're all boosting forward, so need to be very cautious. And I think I may just use my, at least one of my Cobras to reveal them as early as possible.
Ship ready.
Now, if anything, maybe I'll just launch fighters there to try and spot them early. At least they're going out in the middle of nowhere, which means I could get good value out of capturing these points, but I need to know how aggressive this fleet's going to be. I could still do a lot of damage if I make good use of my prow, but slaughters should not be underestimated. Mind you, I never really took the time to know how much damage potential they could do. And combustion gauge, well, I'll grab that point soon enough. I just gotta make my play for over there.
The enemy has seized
And if anything, maybe my opponent's just gonna evade them, which is what the Cobra's for. I want to at least get a sense of this, and I could almost boost here. Let's just get super aggressive, as stupid as it may sound.
Aye, Admiral.
We're going to be getting sick of it really damn quick.
Coordinates acknowledged.
You have seized a strategic
These look like slaughters, yep. No armor piercing round though, so that's my one saving grace there. So I can still win a close range battle just because of that, if I were to be so honest.
Course engaged.
But I need all the firepower I can
We serve.
as well to help in that regard.
Setting course.
I might as well launch assault boats. As silly as that may sound, it could be pretty good in this regard to feint or deny some of the aggression that he may have. Actually, let's go for the... I think engines are what I want to do. I was contemplating maybe shooting down their weapons, since Imperial Navy and Chaos are kind of like the only faction you can destroy multiple weapons if you get a weapon critical hit, which is kind of why I was thinking it, to be so honest. Oh, I took a stasis bomb, didn't I?
Ship ready.
That's a bit of a mistake, but it actually could do its job if I do this right.
Emperor.
And I've been scanner pulse, so that's fine. And I want to get melted torpedo shots in, ideally.
Acknowledged.
This could be a very anticlimactic match just because of the lack of armor piercing, even to the point I'm considering being the aggressor. I almost feel like I'm not worried about
Setting course.
the slaughters if they have no armor piercing.
ready.
It could understandably be a fleet that still needs to level up, mind you.
Engaging engines.
But let's see.
Acquiring new vector.
I could take these hits really well still.
Aye, Admiral.
Initiate emergency repairs. Coordinates acknowledged.
Nope, that is not what I want. I might as well just group these all together. Since the slaughters have speed, and those look like they're more carnages anyway, so this is a bit of a weird mix of a fleet. Which I'm fine with. I got my
Changing course.
hunters going on there. Got a weapon destruction, so... I could deal with this still.
Fury interceptors in flight.
Let's just get in nice and close now, and actually reload for good measure. Since I'm going to need that for the combustion gauge. Okay, so they're going hybrid, half and half there.
We wait your command.
And dang it, stop spraying out. I want to kind of launch torpedoes. You're not making this convenient for me, with that said. Now, lob torpedoes. This might hurt a bit.
Setting
And I used up all
course.
my boosters. Which is not terrible here. Not yet.
Aye, Admiral.
Although spraying damage might be a bit of a mistake, but again, they don't have armor-piercing rounds. That's not a huge loss
We
yet.
serve.
Let the
Course
slaughters
engaged.
pick on some prey there. I got reload, so I can at least do some damage. Hell, I got stasis bombs to kind of force them back.
Wait your command.
And I'll have my boosters back up momentarily.
Engaging engines.
I just gotta make sure I actually kill something. That's the catch.
Setting course.
We wait your
You
command.
sadly have no actual torpedoes, but since we burnt... Oh, and your engines are down again, so you are a prime kill right now with the meltas.
Heading acknowledged.
There's 3 hits there.
Orders.
You're gonna boost on in, and hopefully this will do morale damage that we need.
You have seized a
Cripple off these 3
strategic
because they're completely ignoring the 3 Cobras I have,
Underway.
or the Cobras I have capping right now.
Impossible, Admiral.
Yeah, we're gonna get a bunch of ramming. A bit sloppy, mind you, because the Falcon almost took a plasma bomb that probably was a little more riskier than it needed to be.
Ship ready.
Hell, I want to send the Cobras up. They should try and contribute, ideally. This is gonna get messy quickly.
You have accumulated 25% of strategic.
But can we at least do damage? Light that on fire, maybe? Oh, it's gonna miss.
Aye,
We at
Admiral.
least destroyed 2 of these ships, which is fine. I just gotta get turned around.
Your orders.
Get turned around and reorganize a bit, because I am messing up a tiny bit, especially since you're supposed to be Group 3. You're gonna be my new Group 3.
Ship ready.
And if my opponent's not paying attention, this will pay dividends.
Course engaged.
And you do have spurs. I just gotta remember, I'm burning all my combustion gauge, which is a big mistake.
Ship ready.
All
Actually,
ahead
I'm just gonna
forward.
ram you. The fire should seal the deal. I just don't know the armor value, the armor difference.
Coordinates acknowledged. Boarding teams
Retribution.
have crippled the enemy.
You are in good shape, but you're gonna have to micro jumper really damn soon. That should be the last charge
The enemy has
of
accumulated
the
25% of
the plasma bomb. So repair everything that can repair. And you don't even need to fire.
Changing course.
You just got a target stuck in a stasis bomb to melt.
Enemy sighted. Setting course.
And now, can we ram that? That would be ideal.
Damage teams, begin repairs now. We wait your command.
Brace for impact. We are actually currently capturing the point there, which isn't too terrible. At least for the moment, but we need to do damage here.
Understood.
And you should just burn to death, right?
You have
Yep, you just burnt to death.
50% of strategic points.
Oh, and I want to capture a point there, or at least get in the way of the slaughter. But otherwise,
Course
you
engaged.
are doing a lot of damage. I kind of wish for a disruption bomb. It kind of wasn't too terrible.
Enemy sighted.
Kind of.
All ahead full.
And we got all the objectives here, sort of.
Heading acknowledged.
You have seized
We're at risk of
the
losing them, though,
strategic
so I
area.
gotta take this seriously.
Changing course. Maximum burn.
Sadly, it turned, but I
Coordinates
could
acknowledged.
still ram this thing to death. It has the same health and armor as
Burn
me.
retros.
Not only that, my frigate survived the ordeal. So that's perfectly fine.
Underway.
Sadly,
Engaging
boosters are
engines.
gone. I did lose the frigate eventually, or lost the Dauntless, rather.
Changing course.
Engines are back up. Let's get out of this stasis bomb and let that thing burn to death. Sadly, Retribution is not going to get to do a whole lot here. I did prioritize weapons on this,
Burn retros.
on the Carnages anyway, since they have less mobility.
Emergency repairs.
Now, prioritize on the flagship.
Engaging targets.
Finish that off. And actually, both my Cobras are still... Well, I take that back.
Damage team, begin
I nearly
repairs
just
now.
lost the Cobra as I said that, but I'm in really good shape right now.
Underway.
Burn retros.
Now I gotta stop messing with my controls
You
some.
have accumulated 75%
So ideally, harass this thing, destroy its point defense. Sadly, I lost one of my cruisers, so this is still anybody's game.
Lost.
Changing course.
Boosters, just get them in there.
Maximum
Now we just
burn.
gotta seal the deal. These fighters, how the hell do I have 4? Oh, this is the Exorcist.
We
Stupid me,
serve.
that explains that. I saw it for a moment, maybe I had an Emperor. Don't ask me how I had that bit of a
Impossible, Admiral.
brain fart. But
Engaging
I have the 3
engines.
points. This is still going to be a win by the capture condition at least.
Setting course.
And you are heavily neutered in firepower.
Aye, Admiral.
So actually, let me just boost these forward.
Going
Get their
silent.
assault running going as a bonus. I don't know what happened to my one Cobra that lost its assault running, mind you. Oh, it's the mutiny, that's
Your
why.
orders?
That would be why.
Understood.
It's only a matter of time till I can murder
Coordinates
this.
Acknowledged.
Just got... I guess I'm not going to get to shoot at the deck anymore, last, but once these shields are down,
Setting course.
fighters, they're not quite...
Wait your
Nah,
command.
I let the boost go on too long there. And they're neutralizing points behind me, but I have Cobras to help with that.
Changing course.
And I can't repair. Why can't I repair? I clearly have engines in need of repair.
Underway.
I saw it. So this is a really weird thing.
Lightning strike successful.
Engines are down. That's kind of the best thing I could ask for there. I still would like to have my torpedoes repaired, mind you, but it won't let me.
Course engaged.
Maybe it's because of the heavy damage. Only thing I could think of. And this thing's really
Engaging
close to be losing all its crew.
Your orders.
So this is not over yet. Especially with no torpedoes, but it has no engines, so it's left at the mercy. Oh, actually, let's get the morale going too.
Burn retros.
Understood.
Yeah, this thing's not doing a whole lot, so let me just brace for impact, mitigate a lot of this damage in the meantime.
Engaging engines.
We serve.
And if I could turn the ram it, that would be good, but
Heading acknowledged.
I don't think that's going to help yet. It's only going to prolong the end.
We serve.
Yeah,
Targeting enemy vessel.
it will survive. I'm only 100 points away from a victory. And with this point being captured, hell, I still am going to have 3 points. That is game.
Strategic area.
Maybe a little messy, but I guess my opponent wasn't going for the armor-piercing all-slaughter route, which would have been really scary.
The enemy has seized a strategic
Stasis
area.
Bomb actually would have been convenient for that matchup, but again, I want the Disruption Bomb. That still would have been handy too to immediately get at the critical hits, or at least start doing critical hits. It's just a question on how do I want to engage a slaughter army? Do I face my prow to them and try to ram their ships and start off on a good note? Since while I'm waiting for the disruption bomb to charge up and detonate, my macro cannons are kind of pointless anyway. If there's a good chance the shields to go down is what I mean to say. And let's see, adamantium. I don't think that's actually. Oh, or is that the rank below? I don't know what adamantium rank is. I never paid that much attention to ranking. I just know it's going up. But on that train of thought with the slaughters, how do I want to engage them? I feel like if I feel confident I can get a disruption bomb on them for the engagement, there's no point for me to even shoot macro cannons at them, at range at least. Especially if they're going to they're likely may put a disruption bomb on me for the same reason. So I'm wondering, because Slaughter has a lot of macro cannons, merged macro batteries, that's basically lances and macro cannons, but it's not actually describing at the best. But they're the fastest ship in the game for a cruiser at least. And the only real weakness is they don't have the heavy armor and they don't have spurs, which is why I'm wondering on the ramming. Start off really solid with a ram and torpedoes to open up, and then let the macro cannons do all the talking from there on out. And if I don't need to burn my micro warp jump early, maybe I can use my retribution to fire another torpedo salvo, and maybe get another ram in depending on the situation. Since if they're just running from me, I should be okay. In theory, it seemed like, if that was any demonstration, that the slaughters are not nearly as impactful at range due to their since they're kind of forced to do a lock-on unless they stay within 9,000 units at least. Ooh, we're fighting the Corsairs yet again. Now, the big question, is my opponent going to go all cruisers as my last adversary did or not? Since apparently that was a bit of a liability for at least my last Corsair opponent, since they don't have the convenience of being able to assault run whenever they wish. So I'm curious how this will go. I do need to be mindful of torpedoes without a doubt, since they can weather me down if anything. It seemed like I took very little damage from the star cannons itself. It was dodging all the torpedoes that kept me in fine condition. I just gotta make sure I'm getting the critical hits I need, which probably would be the solar sails, their engines. But it is really damn tempting, I won't lie, to shoot at their generators as well to completely turn off their hollow field. I just don't know if it's the proper choice, mind you, since all it does is really give them more durability and doesn't make it any easier for me to catch them, or at least getting close with them. Especially with torpedoes, the ridiculous damage potential a good torpedo salvo can do. Nonetheless, I think this is an opportunity for me to try something slightly different. What I'm going to do is have the Dauntless hang back, since really, this is a good layout as far as where my opponent can hide. I want to sit between these three objectives ideally, and conveniently there's a nice gas cloud there for me. So I think this suits me well, yet again, for this Corsair matchup. I'm just going to have the Dauntless hang back, holding fire, and just then maybe start getting the position to make our Corsair friend a little uncomfortable.
Ship ready.
Ideally.
Underway.
You are just strictly going to try and spot. I don't know.
We serve.
I might as well put you in group 4, since my Exorcist is no longer in that group. You're just going to hang back and fire torpedoes at an awkward angle,
Setting
maybe.
course.
It's something I'm going to have to play test a little bit,
Your orders?
see if I can get some really good value out of the
Changing course.
Dauntless, since it can take on if it can reliably get in point blank range, it could probably take on a Void Stalker by itself, I won't lie. It has the armor to ram it, the torpedoes are really effective up close, and the awkward angle and position will make it really difficult to hit with pulsars. It's really just the bombers that might kill it, if I were to be honest.
Admiral.
Ceasefire.
You know, just gotta be
Heading
careful.
acknowledged.
I have fighters actually, so I wasn't paying attention to what kind of fighters they were launching, if they were launching at all. So I might need those fighters for defenses against the torpedoes without a doubt, so I don't want to go too reckless with scouting.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
If anything, I kind of want
Aye, Admiral.
to be ready to deal with
Setting
whatever is
course.
capping that point there.
We wait your command.
I heard a Wraithbone. Yeah, you probably just heard it there. The Wraithbone, the Falls Maneuver and the Wraithbone
Aye,
shift,
Admiral.
both at the same time.
Understood.
So that seemed
We
likely.
wait your command.
gotta keep an eye on that. That
The
could be a
enemy has
tell.
seized a strategic area.
But if he does that
You
more,
have
then at
seized a
least it helps make
strategic
my life a
area.
little bit easier knowing where they're going. Sure, they have 3 points, but
Underway.
we could play the long game. At least slightly.
We wait your command.
Dauntless. I don't know how to get the best out of this just yet, so I don't want it to be too far away, but at the same time, if
You
it's
have
not
seized a
firing,
strategic
there'd be
area.
no way for him to know to go after it until I'm ready to launch torpedoes, unless they're randomly flight behind me, which
Serve.
would actually be a godsend to a vague extent, because then it alerts me to that flanking maneuver
orders?
to maybe snipe my exorcist, so there's a lot of variables to consider,
Ship ready.
and I think I want to grab that point with the cruisers
Course
at least,
engaged.
ideally. Now I have this Falcon ready to do a
We
scanner
wait your
pulse as
command.
well. I'm not grabbing this point with any frigates. That's a good way to get them
Coordinates
killed.
acknowledged.
Maybe the Dauntless, but since I kind of considered holding it back, that's probably not a good idea.
Ship ready.
We'll play this like we would with Tyranids to an extent,
Underway.
and I've got to make sure I have a scanner pulse ready for when they do engage. Realistically, the best case situation, I want to reveal them before they actually start attacking me, but
Underway.
that's unlikely. We're relying a little bit on luck in that factor. And that gives away where a frigate's at least.
Enemy sighted.
Well,
We serve.
this might be a little underwhelming. It might be.
Engaging engines.
Since it's
We wait your
Dauntless,
command.
Dauntless would have an amazing time murdering them.
Aye, Admiral. Execute high energy.
Get
turn.
everything out.
Aye, Admiral.
Engaging engines.
So Maelstrom's a 3-minute cooldown. That's not huge,
Ship ready.
scary just yet.
Burn
But I am going
retros.
to take a lot of damage on this thing.
Changing course. We wait your command.
But you burnt your cooldown. Let's get everything
Course
reorganized.
engaged.
And also launch some fighters to see what's going on.
Engaging engines. Heading acknowledged.
Now that doesn't tell us where the battleship or the flagship is just yet.
Heading acknowledged.
And let's see, we have pulses coming up in a few seconds.
Aye, Admiral.
Well, that's
Enemy
convenient.
sighted.
We serve. Setting course. Ship ready.
We can't take much more. Changing course.
Okay, that's one torpedo salvo gone there. And now I can see the entire fleet, so you only get the one there. You get just the one. But let's see if we can at least keep these frigates alive.
Acknowledged.
And also, kill these engines.
We wait your command. Coordinates acknowledged.
The enemy has accumulated 25% of strategic points.
Changing course.
Alright, Dauntless, let's put you to work.
Your orders?
And ideally, start capturing this point, backing up. And see where he hides. Well, he can't hide anymore.
Ship ready.
But this is where the fighters are most valuable.
Understood.
We wait your command. Engaging engines. Your orders? Coordinates
And I know
acknowledged.
these, I can relatively safely just spot these to a casual extent.
Heading
They're
acknowledged.
going to be a little bit annoying, but
We serve.
that's kind of what the Dauntless will be good for.
You have seized
I just got to
a
catch them off
strategic
guard as the
area.
catch.
Maximum burn.
That's going to be the hard part.
Ship ready. Course engaged. Acquiring new vector.
We serve. Setting course.
Now it helps if I prioritize my targets too.
Burn retros. Your orders?
Just keep firing at these. They have no
Aye, Admiral.
hull field, so I am going to lose one cruiser though. And I thought I was telling you to focus on this one ship here, dang it, which is conveniently the flagship as well.
Setting course.
So this is unfortunate. This is not working.
The enemy is
When I tell you to target something, I want you to target it, ideally.
Impossible, Admiral.
Ship ready.
Now let's see how this works. A little bit late, but yeah, if only I got the ram, that would be nice.
Your orders?
You have accumulated 25%.
Let's see, engines are down. At least they're not firing torpedoes, at least, but dang it, I'm still in the maelstrom.
Execute high energy.
More frigates would be warranted here.
We wait your command.
Or I did a bad job there with the frigates, needless to say.
The flagship has been destroyed.
And of course, all the damage is spread out too, so that's a little bit unfortunate.
Escort vessel lost.
Definitely not happy with that mixed up match, but again, well, I thought I had priority set on the flagship. Sure, it would absorb a lot of the damage there with this reinforced with the skill there, but spraying out the damage is not ideal. And getting aggressive is fatal because of the torpedoes too. I want to chase them when they're running away, but I didn't pay attention to the objective as well. If I had because I could have easily That is definitely an interesting fleet with all the frigates. I did a bad job with the Dauntless. It could have easily just hunted down those, was it Arcanites, are they? And it would have been far enough away from the cruisers that it would not have been in any danger if I did that properly. That was a poor execution. That was a really damn poor execution. And letting those frigates get sniped was a big deal too, or just a one actually. I could have had constant sensor pulses with all three of them if I rotated properly, and eventually if those frigates die, then I could just sit in the gas cloud there to a vague extent. Although, they wouldn't have done much else aside for just harassment chipping damage. It's not like because Corsairs were getting buffs, were they, for the Mark. So yeah, maybe the frigates were not a huge liability, it's just to negate any stealth play that I might have been doing. Which then, could have been really good if I surprised them with the Dauntless. There's some hidden value I could have done with the Dauntless. That was just a poor display of it. Ooh, mirror match. I will be perfectly honest, all the mirror matches I had before this video, I kind of cut them out because I didn't really want to showcase some mirror matches for my, at least the first demonstration of all the factions that I played up as, at least in the previous videos. But since we've gone over all the factions and we're done with that, I will throw in a mirror match. It's going to be a little bit different. It may not be all that exciting since we're going to be charging at each other unless his fleet compositions are a lot more different than mine. Which, with the how it's been so far, I'm kind of suspecting we're going to see a bunch of Grand Cruisers. And in truth, I feel like the Grand Cruisers are a bit of a trap to a vague extent. Sure, all Grand Cruisers are really, or at least going a fleet that's all Grand Cruisers is really simple to control, but you don't have torpedoes for that insane burst potential you can use to murder something quickly or do a ridiculous amount of damage in a hurry. They don't have the heavy armor on the prow, so you're a little bit, you don't get as much potential as far as you would with like Retributions or Tyrants or Overlords, I would argue at least. There's more, if you're really good at controlling the fleet, a lot more nuanced about how to get the best out of torpedoes. I feel like the Grand Cruisers are probably a bit of a trap for that reason there. You can do a lot with extra armor, the burst potential of the torpedoes, never mind the fact that I have 6 torpedoes, so I could potentially start lighting them on fire or doing damage to them even before we get in firing range. I have the means to do that after all. There's still a lot to figure out, mind you, especially with 12 factions. It's really hard to cram out a bunch of matches against the same faction, because I'm really excited to learn more about that Corsair match. Sure, it may have been a bit of a mess, but I feel like if I had committed to being aggressive, because keep in mind, the torpedoes were launched, if I kept on boosting forward, my Retribution may have dodged the majority of them, and then my Corsair friend would have had no torpedoes or even any abilities to really scare me off. It's just a matter on how I can best deny them from running away. That would be the trick. Since I still had the micro warp trap available, I just couldn't get behind them the best. Now, I'm tempted to launch fighters. I don't know if I like it because they could be valuable for later on in all seriousness. And hell, do I really? I would kind of like the Cobras to go on the left at some point, but I'll have them grab this point here and then maybe circle around to grab the left point, depending how things are playing out. Since I think I might want the Dauntless to at least start harassing, or at least try and contribute in this fight if it's what I think it is. All I know is it's 4 ships, all going vaguely the same speed at the moment. Yep. What's the silhouettes? Okay, we got Emperor and 2 Marses. And that's a Defiance right there. So all carrier ships, so that's unfortunate. I'm going to lose that valuable fighter charge I'm going to need to at least keep their bombers at bay. But there's very little close-range firepower. I just got to deal with the Nova cannons of those 2 Marses. I'm pretty certain they're Marses. I didn't look that closely at the silhouette, but I could tell when, if I had to, invested. What am I trying to say? If I invested enough time looking at it, I could have noticed the Nova cannon, mind you. But at the same time, I'm actually going to kill these fighters here. What happened to everything else? Where's all the other fighters? Okay, there's Scout there. That's all I know. I'm pretty certain there's an Emperor squadron as well going somewhere, right? And if my... Okay, and we spotted everything. That's nice and convenient. And they are Marses. So very... What is the priority with that said with such an odd fleet? I honestly don't know what I should focus on, since all their firepower up close is not that impressive, since they only got single macro cannon each. Hell, the Emperor has only a single salvo of macro cannons on the side as well. So I really want to just go super aggressive, get in their face in a hurry. And hell, let's launch some torpedoes for good measure, and keep in mind Nova cannons. This may be underwhelming, I apologize for that, but let's get into the thick of it. That's my plan here. Again, what do I prioritize? The Emperor has like the... Well, the micro warp jump's not so ridiculous anymore because it's based on the scanning range and not the full identification range anymore, so let's see. And we are burning some emergency repairs, which is going to be amazing for later on. I didn't pay that much attention if the Mars is actually, was it? Burnt the repair on. I have plenty of shields for crying out loud. I have plenty of shields, I'm not worried in the slightest.
Your orders?
Yes, keep that thing still for me. And let's reload for that, with that said. I probably should have rammed them. That was a bit of a mistake. I was focusing more on the retribution, making sure it was out of range of the Nova cannon, to at least get a little bit more value out of its shields. But that's a lot of morale damage there. We could get the ram. Yeah, let me just ram this thing, Zeph. This is going to be short and sweet, but I gotta be mindful of the bombers too. That can really be a hindrance. Also, reload on you too for good measure. Oh, I don't need to worry. I could just micro warp jump out. Those torpedoes aren't going to hit, are they? Ooh, they did hit. Yeah, underwhelming match. A little bit of an underwhelming match. A nice little slugfest. Now, let me actually use this as an opportunity to practice my micromanagement in all seriousness.
Understood.
Since the better I can manage these things, the better.
Ship ready.
And now let's actually get out of this point. Sure, these things probably be dead by now if those Falcons decide to ram me, so that's probably my first failing as far as micromanagement. But it's a good way to practice, at least if nothing else. So I'm going to take full advantage of it. And the Emperor's already dead, so let's just ram what we can. All the while... No, you're not going to asteroid belt. You're not really taking much morale damage, but I guess it's okay. And that's basically keeping the point from being capped. This will be over anyway, but... What do I bomb? Well, that's still a drifting Hulk. And that's about to die. You're on a mutiny, so there's not really much else to worry about. Aside from capturing points, which I might as well do.
The battle is lost.
Did those torpedoes strike true? No, they were whiff. I was kind of hoping to blind fire, since if I take too much time trying to aim those torpedoes, it could cost me an intense battle. But they are really tricky to hit, needless to say, too, especially with how close you have to get. Since right now I think that would only hit a single torpedo on the Falcon. So that's gonna be what I learned. Wow, really? Oh, the Nova cans were causing morale damage, maybe. And the fact I wasn't really braced for impact either, so the ramming damage was starting to have a negative effect on my morale, but... And you were bored some, from what I understand. Yeah, you lost half your troop value, which doesn't really say a whole lot in all honesty, but...
We serve.
I need to pay attention to what caused all that morale
Course
damage,
engaged.
since that's also a potential fatal mistake for me, to let that happen when I don't wish it to.
Understood. Acquiring new vector.
Now, all that's left is just clean up this wreck. And all the while, like I said, just practice. Oh, that's gonna hit.
Battle is lost.
And those were slow torpedoes too. Ah, dang it. It was a little bit too early.
Changing course.
I was mashing that button, it was just refusing to go off cooldown. Didn't I tell you to grab that point? Maybe I messed up with my hotkeys some. A little bit of the
You have
a little bit is a
accumulated 50%
symptom of
strategic
what?
points.
Trying to do a video after work there, especially with fatigue and all that, but that's just me coming up with excuses, isn't it?
Course
Now,
engaged.
did that hit?
Acquiring
It
new
is a
vector.
mutiny, but didn't hit with the torpedoes like I want.
You have seized
Oh,
a
and you're burning
strategic
retros too. I'm
area.
doing really good with controlling my fleet. This is a bit of a bummer, because that is essential for these type of chaotic matches. It went really well with the...
Underway.
I want to argue it went really well with the Chaos Fleet, but that was then. This is now. This is a different match, and this is a frigate that needs to get bombed.
Ship ready.
Alright.
Boarding teams have crippled the enemy.
Not really much else to say with this match. It was simple. Definitely an odd fleet that relies on softening me up at range,
enemy
since it
has-
doesn't have any real firepower to take me on. Hell, I don't even think the Emperor has... Was it the additional armor on the prow anymore? That doesn't. The Oberon doesn't, but the Apocalypse does. Okay. So yeah. You need to be very careful with that. Since in Armada 1, the one major benefit the Emperor had was micro warp jumped, took full advantage of the extreme identification range that it has in Armada 1. But in Armada 2, it's only the 4,500 unit range. But of course, the big difference between those two games is I could teleport to any of my other ships' scanning range. So maybe it can still be the same power or mobility with that, but every other flagship can do that. So I would argue Emperor's kind of lost a lot of its luster there. I would argue.